certain that as children, we were all terrified of some irrational thing. This could have been something hiding under the bed, in the closet, or perhaps standing behind us when it was dark. But let me ask you a question. Were these things, these monsters, real? Were we in any danger? Your answer is probably no, and you'd be right. But what if the monsters you thought were real actually were? What if the line between your imagination and reality was so blurred that it was practically non-existent? This is the exact situation the game It's Not Me, It's My Basement throws us in. We play as Embry Oliver, a non-binary child whose parents were seemingly killed by one or multiple monsters that appeared and are now in the basement. The basement door is securely locked, and we must perform our duties of feeding the monsters every day so that we don't end up dead too. But here, the same question arises. Are the monsters real? Is Embry in any danger? Or are the monsters a mere figment of their imagination? A coping mechanism to try to heal past trauma? This is precisely what I attempt to answer today. To analyze the game, we first need to understand the story we're presented. I'll summarize the story to the best of my abilities, but if you want to know what happens in detail, you can either play the game yourself or watch any of the several playthroughs online. 4 months ago, Embry's parents were attacked and seemingly killed by one or more entities, which are now in the basement. And since then, Embry's daily routine hasn't changed. They are still feeding the monsters, which they prioritize over even their own health and well-being, are still going to the market for food, and are still trying to keep up the pretense that everything is normal. This pretense extends to the townsfolk. Embry tells them a convincing lie that their parents are merely sick, too ill for any local doctor to treat, however. This facade is quickly shattered when a traveling doctor by the name of Dr. Delight comes by the town. He insists on coming to the house, quickly realizing that Embry's parents are not sick, but missing, and perhaps even dead. The doctor presses Embry to open the basement door. When he finally gets too close, he falls. Embry swiftly shuts the door back up, and the house violently shakes, presumably as the monsters consume the doctor. The next day, Embry decides they've had enough, and descends into the basement themselves, ending the game. What first made me realize that a deeper analysis of the game was not just possible, but necessary, is a scene that takes place around the middle of the game. During that scene, we, for the first and only time, see that the monster or monsters in the basement can talk. They, or one of them, use the voice of Embry's mother, then that of their father, and finally, Embry's own. Specifically, it's the line, "Do you hate yourself this much?" that made me realize there's more to this game than meets the eye. That is because this line is entirely out of place. The literal narrative, Embry is a victim. They had nothing to do with their parents' disappearance and potential death. So why would the monster, presumably a creature of instinct, pose such a complex, accusatory question? And why would Embry have any reason for self-hatred in the first place? The simplest, most rational explanation fails here. But the fact that the line is spoken in Embry's own voice is a crucial detail. It suggests that this monster is not talking to Embry, but perhaps a part of Embry talking back. a dark internal monologue projected onto the monster. But to be able to understand all this and uncover the true meaning of this game, we must first examine a character whom we don't get to see in person, but whose footprint surrounds us like air: Embry's father. A common trope in fiction is to visually link an evil or harmful character to inherent malice by depicting them with horns and other goat-like features. This draws a direct line to figures like Satan or mythical satyrs or Onis, creatures universally seen as evil, and creatures which also happen to be commonly depicted with horns and other goat-like features. More or less notable examples may include Hela, the Entity, Umarak, or Malthus. In the game, only one character is given these features: Embry's father. In the family drawing and a dream scene, he is distinctly depicted with conspicuous horn-like protrusions. And these aren't just mere errors in the drawing or a feature of another object. In the dream scene, it may look like these are just part of the frame the painting is stood upon, but a distorted version of that dream reveals the painting to not have these protrusions. Therefore, we can assume that the drawing also depicts them, instead of these merely being errors in said drawing. This is symbolically vital, especially since none of ArcadeKitten's other protagonists or primary characters mix human and animal-like features in this way. In every one of their games, there's only one character type at a time, either only human, only anthropomorphic animals, or only humans with animal-like features, but never a combination of them. The father's depiction is a giant, flashing sign. He is likely a source of harm or evil. To back this up, we need to look at Embry's behavior through the lens of trauma psychology. When Embry thinks or speaks about their father, the sentences are almost always ended by an ellipsis, a triple dot punctuation mark. This literary phenomenon is called aposiopesis, a figure of speech, where a speaker is unwilling or unable to continue due to a strong, overwhelming emotion like fear or pain. While the sentences aren't cut off, as should be the case for this to properly qualify as aposiopesis, this still counts. In this exchange, the ellipsis before Embry's statement and their subsequent silence after the compliment suggests they believe mentioning the father should devalue the painting. When the doctor, who doesn't know the painful context, fails to catch the implication, Embry is silent. That their silence is shown explicitly is worth noting, because every other time, Embry not responding isn't shown. That it is here implies that their silence holds weight. Crucially, aposiopesis is absent when Embry mentions their mother. Embry also mentions missing gardening with their mother, a bonding activity, but never any activity with their father. This, combined with the father not being mentioned as often as the mother, suggests that memories about and relating to him may be painful, or at the very least uncomfortable. This all lines up with the observation of Dutch-American psychiatrist Bessel van der Kolk, who noted in his 2014 book, The Body Keeps the Score, that, in trauma literature, recurring avoidance cues such as ellipses, fragmented memories, and visual demonization signal a survivor's attempt to keep painful material out of conscious awareness. What Embry exhibits, aposiopesis, seldom mentioning of the father, and his visual demonization, are the exact avoidance cues van der Kolk describes. This establishes our central hypothesis. ArcadeKitten's It's Not Me, It's My Basement is a game about the long-term effects of unresolved childhood trauma. If the father is the source of the trauma, the mother is the clear counterpart, somebody Embry loves dearly. The evidence is not only implied by what I stated about the father, but is, at least partially, told through the family drawing on the fridge in the kitchen. For starters, Embry is wearing their gardening outfit. This is an odd choice considering the drawing depicts what appears to be a casual setting. In a casual scenario, why would Embry be wearing work clothes? However, looking at what that outfit symbolizes makes it obvious. Embry, as they imply, adored gardening with their mother, and we see them wear this exact outfit in the dream they have about her. Therefore, this outfit is a symbolic link to Embry's mother. In addition, Embry and their mother's hands seem to blend together, forming a smooth, continuous gradient, likely further suggesting the literal connection between Embry and their mother is or was not only strong, but harmonious in a way. The same cannot be said for the way Embry and their father hold hands. Not only are they not connected, they appear to barely even touch. Last but not least, Embry's hair color in the drawing is the same as that of their mother, despite the dream scene clearly showing that this is most definitely not the case. Embry's hair is basically white, while that of their mother is blonde. The hair color of the father remains distinct. The mother was a safe haven, a protector, someone Embry felt safe around, yet inseparable from. This is reinforced by Embry mentioning their mother in the present tense when interacting with the toy box. Mom likes and my toys are neat. While we see a horrific image of her decapitated in a dream, which likely symbolizes something permanently stolen or destroyed by the trauma, Embry's attachment to her in the present tense remains. With the trauma hypothesis established, the game's other elements snap into focus. The house represents Embry's mental state. It's physically isolated in a dense forest, symbolizing Embry's isolation from society. Inside it's messy, but Embry tries to clean the windows. They focus on making it look tidy on the outside, trying to hide the internal chaos. Behavior that's common among some trauma survivors. The monsters in the basement are the trauma itself, locked away but constantly present and demanding. Feeding the monsters is a maladaptive coping strategy, something like binge eating, substance abuse, or self-harm. Actions that offer temporary relief or distraction but keep the trauma alive. Literally. The name of the game, it's not me, it's my basement, then takes on its true meaning. It's not me, it's my trauma that makes me act this way. The doctor is the persistent outside attempt to help. His death by the monsters represents the ultimate rejection of help, with the trauma itself violently shutting down any chance of recovery. It isn't Embry who willingly turned him away, it was the trauma, the basement. Embry has the responsibilities of an adult, market trips, house upkeep, but depicted as a child and uses crayon to mark off days on the calendar, which the doctor also points out. This suggests that Embry is physically an adult, but mentally stunted by the trauma, unable to grow up and cope with adult life. Before the game ends, Embry has a final nightmare. They awaken to a loud noise from downstairs, which turns out to be the basement door having been opened by something, and have a choice: go down or go back upstairs. This choice, while leading to the same ending of the game, represents two potential endings to Embry's story. After the nightmare, Embry says a defining line: just a nightmare, but it's gone on long enough. By nightmare, Embry likely doesn't mean the literal dream, but instead the torment of the trauma. This single line carries a double meaning, determined by the player's choice in the dream. Embry meets the doppelganger, referred to as you are. This entity mocks Embry and calls them a monster, representing the part of Embry that engages in self-blame and self-loathing, the most damaging aspect of their trauma response. In this scenario, it's gone on long enough takes on its sinister meaning. Embry is unable to take the torment any further and chooses a final, drastic action to end it, possibly suicide. The bad ending. Embry falls asleep and dreams of the Doctor. The Doctor is straightforward, but not mocking. He tells Embry that if he hadn't died, nothing would have changed. This is a moment of clarity. Embry realizes the help they shut down wasn't an enemy, but that the refusal to accept it is what truly causes stagnation. In this scenario, it's gone on long enough takes on its positive meaning. Embry decides to seek out the help they need and chooses to live, finally putting an end to the act of torment. The good ending. At last, a complete analysis. ArcadeKitten's It's Not Me, It's My Basement is a game that tells the story of Embry Oliver, a person emotionally stunted by childhood trauma at the hands of their father, a trauma their mother likely tried but failed to protect them from. Now an adult but mentally still child, Embry isolates from the outside world while maintaining a facade that everything is okay when in reality it isn't, being trapped in a cycle of irrational self-blame, refusal of help, and maladaptive and unhealthy coping strategies. The most terrifying part is that we don't know which of the two possible endings is the real one. Does Embry succumb to the self-loathing, or do they finally break the cycle and choose to heal? But even if this analysis answers the most pressing questions, there are still a few ones that are sadly left unanswered. Like, what the meaning of the pitch-black tentacle in the toy box is, why the townsfolk give Embry items for free, or what the mother's decapitation truly symbolizes. But even with those lingering questions, one thing is clear. The games ArcadeKitten makes are unlike anything I've seen, and I've never witnessed anyone tell a story like this well. I highly encourage that if you can and want to, that you support ArcadeKitten on Patreon. The link is, of course, in the description. But before I end the video, there's one final thing I want to say. If you are or were in a toxic, abusive, or otherwise hurtful relationship, whether with a partner, friend, family member, or your parents, it doesn't matter, or if you are or have suffered trauma at the hands of somebody else, like physical or verbal abuse, please seek out help, whether it's a person you can fully trust or a mental health professional. And if you know somebody who fits these categories, please make sure that the individual gets help, and if it ever comes to that, get them help yourself. Because in either situation, getting an individual help can mean the difference between life and death. And as always, thanks for watching.